Here, right where the village of Pythagoreon stands today, stood the ancient city of Samos, which around 600 before the Christian era was flourishing in all respects and enjoyed great economic and political power. It had over 15,000 inhabitants. All these people needed fresh water, but the closest major spring lay 1.5 kilometers to the northwest, over the mountain, where the village of Ayades is today. Water was therefore carried first over an open conduit, which was to be covered later, and then over a tunnel approximately 1 kilometer in length, cutting right through the mountain. The final part of the aqueduct consisted of another conduit leading into the city. See how deep within the mountain, a whole 180 meters, the horizontal tunnel runs. Doesn't it look just like a totally modern project? The engineer first marked, on the surface of the mountain, the straight tunnel's trace from end to end.
Στήθη δεξιός. Ευωνίμως μετάστηθη.
Eupalinos begs Hera, goddess protectress of Samos, Pluto, god of the earth's depths, and Hephaestus, god of technology, for their help in this bold venture. The work begins. The water will come from the spring at today's Ayades. A supply conduit, open or tunneled at a small depth, will be dug, and that will eventually be covered. It will finally reach the northern entrance of the tunnel. Before digging at the southern end, a temporary horizontal fill was prepared. The digging of the tunnel began from both ends. Herodotus calls it amphistomon origma, a double-mouthed tunnel. The digging had to be checked continuously to ensure that it remained straight as well as horizontal. It was most probably to control straightness that lanterns were placed on the floor axis. The absolute straightness of the dig was constantly monitored with a simple diopter. The poles on the slope showed the straight line that the tunnel axis should follow. And the chorovatis, using a water level, continuously checked the tunnel floor for levelness. The tunnel had to be horizontal, but in order to make the water flow, Eupalinos would dig a separate inclined trench, 70 centimeters wide, on the right side of the tunnel floor. This trench had an inclination of about 0.4%, so that its depth increased as it went from north to south. Ceramic pipes, 25 centimeters in diameter, meticulously joined together, were laid along the trench to carry the water. The digging of the tunnel proceeded from both sides. The further in they went, the more lanterns were needed to control straightness. Wherever the ceiling of the tunnel appeared unstable, Eupalinos lined it with hewn slabs of stone, slightly curved, which, when joined, formed a vault. As the workers went deeper into the mountain, they had to keep track of the tunnel's length. Eupalinos instructed them to mark the tunnel wall at every 10 ories or fathoms with one of the Greek numerals for the tens, iota, kappa, lambda, and so on. Eupalinos was rightly proud of the strict geometry he used to guide his project. Indeed, at one of those measured distances, he had the word παράδειγμα, exemplar, written in large red letters. He may have had in mind his exemplary calculations about the length of the tunnel, as well as its possible deviations.
Thanks for all your troubles. The tunnel's two branches are advancing very well in terms of both straightness and horizontality. However, I'm a little worried about the kind of rock we are finding in the northern branch, but we shall see. Today, I want to talk to you about the way I have imagined that the two branches will meet after a few years, Zeus willing. First of all, I want this meeting to take place directly beneath the mountain's peak so that we can be sure of controlling the two straight lines with the aid of the poles on each slope. But as you know, only the gods are infallible. I fear that after so many thousands of feet, our lines will have gone astray and the two branches will never meet. So, my plan is, once the south branch has reached 1,200 feet in length, we shall turn it slightly eastward. Later, when the north branch has reached 1,800 feet, we shall also turn that a little eastward too. My calculations show that the points where we will make the two branches turn will be only 70 feet apart. This way, they will have to bump into each other, whatever our error in straightness may be.
You're simply amazing, Eupalinos. Yes, a great idea, even if conservative. Still, a good scientist never forgets uncertainty.
My fears about the rock here in the north branch have come true. We shall have to turn the tunnel to the west in order to go against the slant of the rock. I have used geometry to calculate the extra length this temporary deviation will add. I reckon 70 feet. This extra length will be marked on the wall of the rerouted tunnel with the letter M prime. And after that, beyond the displaced M prime point, you will continue with the regular marks Ni, Xi, Omicron every 70 feet. So, when we return to our straight course, we'll be back at our initial Omicron point.
So they turn to the right. After a while, it gets darker and more lanterns are used.
This is where we reach our straight line again. Throw an Omicron on the wall. But the rock has still not improved. We shall continue on the same oblique direction and form another triangle like the one on the other side to the east, moving like a captain who follows a tacking course to avoid the waves hitting the boat squarely on its side. Καλέστε τον αρχιτέκτορα, καλέστε τον! Now we are going well. As you know, 2 years ago, when the south branch was completed, reaching right under the mountain peak, I extended it with a 110-foot oblique tail to ensure that it met the other branch according to my original plan. Here is a detail from the tablet I showed you some time ago. Remember? Now, after the deviation we were forced to make, here is where we are, according to my calculations, in relation to that tail which has been waiting there for 2 years. Total length 3,500 feet. North branch 1,770 feet. South branch 1,470 feet. North and south together, to this day, 3,240 feet. Difference from the overall length, 260 feet. So, now we can proceed in parallel to the original straight line and start a 4 in 10 turn. Take heart, guys, we're getting there. Now I want us to make a 1 in 1 turn to the right again. Dig 70 feet and then go straight again. I promise you another 70 feet and we'll break through. Courage, ye sons of the Telchians. Sound all over here. Wondrous goddess.
A great feat. Well done. Triumph. The two branches have met. Soon they will start digging the trench inside the tunnel. Then the clay pipes will be laid in the trench, suitably inclined to carry the water. This phase of the operation took several months. But the water finally reached Samos. Thanks to mathematics and thanks to money, the fountains of Samos had plenty of running water. Something important seems to be taking place down at the great temple of Hera. The people acknowledge the invaluable contribution of Eupalinos. The great engineer is rightly celebrated. A few years later, Herodotus would rightly say with admiration that the Samians had built the most important technical project in all of Greece.